Dealerships are stuck with bikes nobody wants, and manufacturers keep pretending everything's fine. You're about to discover the 18 motorcycles collecting dust on showroom floors, models that only uninformed buyers fall for. These aren't just bad deals, they're expensive mistakes that smart riders avoid completely. Here's the first bike that should have never left the factory floor. At number 18, Suzuki GSX 250R. Some motorcycles promise sport bike thrills, but deliver glorified scooter performance. This Suzuki is Exhibit A. The GSX 250R produces 24 horsepower from a 248 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine with 17 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight hits 392 pounds, and the starting price is around $5,000. Those numbers tell a disturbing story. This bike weighs nearly as much as a 600 cubic centimeter sport bike while making less power than most 250 cubic centimeter singles. That's not entry-level friendly, that's physics working against you. The bike feels sluggish accelerating onto highways, soft and vague through corners, and lacks any excitement that makes sport bikes worth riding. Worse yet, stronger options exist at nearly identical prices. The Yamaha R3 makes 50% more power. The Kawasaki Ninja 400 outperforms it in every measurable category. Even within Suzuki's own lineup, there are better choices that make this bike completely redundant. Think that's bad? This next cruiser forgot what made the Rebel name worth buying in the first place. At number 17, Honda Rebel 1100 DCT. The Rebel series built its reputation on simplicity, soul, and accessibility. Then Honda made this, a computerized cruiser that lost everything the name stood for. The Rebel 1100 DCT delivers 86 horsepower from a 1,084 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine with 72 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 524 pounds, and it starts at around $9,600. What kills this bike is the dual-clutch transmission. No clutch lever, no gear shifter, just twist and go like a scooter. On paper, that sounds convenient. In reality, it robs the ride of any connection between rider and machine. Shifting is abrupt in some modes and smooth in others, but never satisfying. The ergonomics are equally confused. The long wheelbase and awkward seating position make it feel neither like a traditional cruiser nor a modern standard. Riders stepping up from smaller Rebels expect familiarity, but get something that feels distant and unsure of itself. The weight distribution creates problems at slow speeds, making the bike feel top-heavy and clumsy in parking lots. Combined with the automated transmission, it removes the tactile feedback that makes motorcycles engaging to ride. Honda tried to modernize the Rebel concept, but ended up creating a machine that alienates both traditional cruiser fans and new riders looking for authentic motorcycle experiences. But at least this one runs on gasoline. The next bike forgot how to make any sound at all. At number 16, Harley-Davidson Livewire 1. Some motorcycles push boundaries forward. Others push buyers away completely. The Livewire started as Harley's bold electric experiment, but became a cautionary tale about ignoring your customer base. The Livewire 1 produces 105 horsepower from a liquid-cooled electric motor with 84 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 555 pounds, and the starting price is around $22,800. For that premium price, most riders expect long-distance capability, distinctive character, or at least something that sounds like a real motorcycle. Instead, they get silent acceleration, followed by range anxiety and charging infrastructure limitations. The bike delivers impressive torque, but feels sterile, both mechanically and emotionally. Harley's traditional customers never embraced it. They didn't spend decades building loyalty to the brand just to ride something that sounds like an appliance. Younger buyers who might appreciate electric power can't justify spending luxury car money on a motorcycle with limited practical range. real-world range sits around 80 to 100 miles under ideal conditions, dropping significantly with aggressive riding or highway speeds. Charging takes 45 minutes minimum at fast chargers that remain sparse in many regions. This creates constant trip planning stress that traditional motorcycles simply don't have. The styling is aggressive but generic, lacking any of the distinctive character that makes Harleys recognizable. It looks like it could wear any badge, which defeats the purpose of paying Harley-Davidson prices. Most devastating is the depreciation. Used live wires sell for half their original price within 2 years because demand simply doesn't exist. Subscribe now, because these expensive mistakes prove that brand loyalty can't save bad decisions from reality. At number 15, Kawasaki Versys 1000 LT. Adventure touring should inspire confidence to tackle any road. The Versys 1000 LT makes riders second-guess every route instead. This Kawasaki makes 118 horsepower from a 1,047 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine with 75 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 565 pounds, and it starts at around $13,400. The problems begin with identity confusion. At over 560 pounds, it's too heavy for serious off-road work. But the soft suspension, tall frame, and vague throttle response prevent it from excelling on pavement either. The bike feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be, creating an experience that satisfies neither adventure riders nor sport touring enthusiasts. The suspension feels disconnected from the road, providing neither the compliance needed for rough terrain nor the feedback desired for spirited canyon riding. On tight technical roads, the bike feels hesitant and uncertain. On long highway stretches, it lacks the refined comfort and confidence of dedicated touring machines. Even the electronics package feels dated compared to competitors. Basic traction control and ABS are present, but modern adventure bikes offer sophisticated rider aids that the Versys lacks. Riders expecting cutting-edge technology find outdated systems instead. Storage capacity is adequate but not exceptional. The panniers work fine but don't integrate as seamlessly as systems from BMW or Triumph. Small details like this add up to an overall package that feels compromised rather than refined. The Versys 1000 LT tries being a jack of all trades, but masters none. Identity crisis aside, this next bike proves retro styling can't compensate for outdated engineering. At number 14, Yamaha XSR 700. Retro aesthetics can carry a motorcycle through initial showroom appeal, but they can't hide fundamental problems forever. The XSR 700 looks the part of a modern classic, but rides like a parts bin special that nobody asked for. The XSR 700 produces 74 horsepower from a 689 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine with 50 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 410 pounds, and it starts at around $8,900. This bike shares its engine and platform with the MT-07, but somehow doesn't inherit any of the fun. Instead, it brings outdated suspension that feels cheap and imprecise, awkward ergonomics that fatigue riders quickly, and a seat that becomes uncomfortable within an hour. The retro styling attracts attention, but the riding experience drives people away. The suspension is the most glaring problem. Basic forks with minimal adjustability can't handle aggressive riding or rough roads effectively. Buyers paying nearly $9,000 expect better damping and more sophisticated components. What they get feels more appropriate for a $4,000 budget bike. Ergonomics force riders into an uncomfortable position between upright and sporty. The handlebars sit at odd angles, and the foot peg position doesn't match the bar placement naturally. After longer rides, wrists, back, and shoulders all protest. Speaking of nostalgia gone wrong, this next bike proves that legendary names don't guarantee modern relevance. At number 13, Suzuki Katana 1000. The Katana name carries serious history. This modern interpretation carries mostly disappointment. Suzuki tried reviving an iconic design, but forgot to make it relevant for contemporary riding. The Katana 1000 makes 148 horsepower from a 998 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine with 78 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 473 pounds, and it starts at around $13,500. Here's where things get problematic. The Katana shares its platform with the GSXS 1000, which offers better ergonomics, similar performance, and costs less. The Katana's supposed advantage is styling, but that styling is polarizing at best and awkward at worst. The upright handlebars combined with forward-biased ergonomics create riding positions that suit neither aggressive sport riding nor comfortable touring. Wind protection is nearly non-existent, turning highway miles into exhausting battles against buffeting. The small fly screen does nothing except direct air straight into the rider's chest and helmet. Long rides become endurance tests rather than enjoyable journeys. The seat is firm and narrow, contributing to discomfort that starts within 30 minutes and becomes painful after an hour. Combined with vibration from the engine and wind blast, the Katana actively discourages the kind of riding it's supposedly designed for. Even the retro styling that's meant to be the bike's main selling point feels forced and awkward. It doesn't capture the original Katana's aggressive angles successfully, instead looking like a confused mashup of old and new elements that don't harmonize. If misguided nostalgia bothers you, this next entry takes it to absurd levels with a toy masquerading as a motorcycle. At number 12, Indian EFTR Jr. Some products make you question what manufacturers were thinking. The EFTR Jr. makes you wonder if anyone was thinking at all. This isn't a motorcycle. It's a 65-pound electric toy limited to 15 miles per hour with 0 horsepower. It costs around $800. Let that sink in. Indian is selling what amounts to a powered toy at a price point approaching actual motorcycles. For a few $100s more, buyers can find used dual-sport bikes that actually ride on real roads with registration and insurance. This thing can't leave private property legally. The marketing compounds the absurdity. Indian positions this as evoking nostalgia and brand loyalty, showing adult riders in full gear posing with what's essentially a children's pit bike. It has no practical transportation value, no performance capability, and no purpose beyond 5 minutes of novelty. For actual children, it might provide brief entertainment in backyards. But the target market seems confused between kids who'd outgrow it immediately and adults drawn in by branding who'd never actually ride it. Neither group represents sustainable sales. At least that toy doesn't pretend to be functional. This next bike promises capability it absolutely cannot deliver. How many of these dealership dust collectors have you seen in person? Drop a comment telling us which one seems most desperate for buyers. At number 11, Benelli Leoncino 500. The Leoncino 500 succeeds at exactly one thing, looking decent from 10 feet away. Get closer, start the engine, or actually ride it, and the illusion crumbles fast. This Benelli produces 47 horsepower from a 499 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine with 33 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 470 pounds, and it starts at around $6,600. That price seems competitive until you discover what you're actually buying. The suspension feels cheap and vague, providing neither comfort nor control. Fueling is inconsistent throughout the revolution per minute range, creating jerky throttle response that makes smooth riding nearly impossible. The bike is marketed as a scrambler, but the ground clearance and street-oriented tires expose that as pure marketing fiction. Quality control issues plague ownership. Electrical problems appear frequently, with switches and displays failing prematurely. Parts wear rapidly, requiring replacement far sooner than competitors. The distinctive visual styling that initially attracts buyers quickly becomes irrelevant when the bike spends more time being repaired than ridden. Many owners report dealer support problems. Finding qualified technicians for Benelli products remains challenging in most markets, and parts availability creates frustrating delays during repairs. What seemed like a budget-friendly alternative becomes expensive through constant maintenance and depreciation. Budget problems are forgivable. This next premium bike has no excuse for its failures. At number 10, BMW F900R. BMW built their reputation on precision engineering and refined performance. The F900R feels like someone forgot to tell the design team what BMW means. This BMW makes 99 horsepower from an 895 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine with 68 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 465 pounds, and it starts at around $9,200. For a premium price wearing a premium badge, the F900R delivers surprisingly unrefined performance. Throttle response is choppy and inconsistent. The engine note sounds agricultural rather than sporting. The overall experience lacks the polish expected from BMW, feeling more like a budget competitor's first attempt than an established manufacturer's middleweight naked offering. The riding position creates problems for taller riders, with cramped ergonomics that become uncomfortable quickly. The suspension setup, while adjustable, never quite feels dialed in regardless of settings. It's too firm for comfortable street riding, but too soft for aggressive sport riding, existing in an unsatisfying middle ground. Direct competitors from Japan, the Yamaha MT-09, Honda CB650R, and Kawasaki Z900 all offer smoother power delivery, better refinement, and more engaging riding experiences at similar or lower prices. They also provide superior dealer networks and better long-term reliability, making the BMW difficult to justify. Resale values reflect market reality. F900R models depreciate faster than Japanese competitors, and used examples sit on the market significantly longer. If BMW can stumble, at least they're trying to build real motorcycles. This next brand barely manages that. At number 9, Royal Enfield Meteor 350. Some cruisers are built for distance. The Meteor 350 barely handles the ride home from the dealership without feeling overwhelmed. The Meteor 350 produces 20 horsepower from a 349 cubic centimeter air-cooled single-cylinder engine with 20 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 421 pounds, and it starts at around $4,900. That engine might suffice for city traffic at 35 miles per hour, but expose it to real roads and the limitations become painfully obvious. Highway riding is technically possible, but practically miserable. Passing power is non-existent. Steep grades make the engine labor audibly, and sustained speeds above 60 miles per hour create vibrations that become fatiguing within minutes. The ergonomics are relaxed, and the seat is reasonably comfortable for a budget cruiser, but vibrations through the handlebars and foot pegs undermine any comfort advantages. Longer rides expose the single cylinder's inherent harshness, creating hand numbness and general fatigue that more refined bikes don't. For a few $1,000s more, the Honda Rebel 500 offers dramatically better power, superior build quality, modern fuel injection that actually works properly, and significantly stronger resale value. The price difference is minor compared to the capability gap. At least Royal Enfield knows their budget. This next bike costs premium money for dated performance. At number 8, Yamaha Bolt R-Spec. The Bolt made sense years ago as Yamaha's affordable Harley alternative. In 2025, it feels frozen in time while the market moved forward without it. The Bolt R-Spec produces 65 horsepower from a 941 cubic centimeter V-twin engine with 59 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 546 pounds, and it starts at around $8,900. The fundamental problem is stagnation. Yamaha has made virtually no meaningful updates to this platform since introduction. The suspension remains overly stiff, the seat feels like sitting on wood, and the ergonomics are cramped for anyone over 5 feet 10 inches. Despite cruiser styling, it lacks the comfort necessary for actual cruising. The air-cooled engine provides character but poor emissions performance and inefficient fuel consumption. while competitors modernized with liquid cooling and fuel injection improvements, the Bolt stands still with technology that's increasingly outdated. Emissions regulations continue tightening, making the Bolt's future uncertain. Yamaha hasn't invested in updates needed to keep it compliant, suggesting they're letting this model fade away rather than engineering solutions. Smart buyers recognize a dead-end product when they see one. Newer cruisers offer better suspension, more refined engines, improved electronics, and stronger brand appeal at competitive prices. The Bolt's supposed advantage was value, but that value proposition disappeared as better options arrived at similar price points. Resale values confirm market sentiment. Used Bolts sit unsold while competing models move quickly. Depreciation is severe because buyers recognize they're purchasing outdated technology with uncertain future support. But if you think dated cruisers are disappointing, this next tiny bike is just insulting to potential buyers. At number 7, CF Moto Papio 125. Small displacement motorcycles serve important purposes, teaching new riders, navigating congested cities, providing affordable transportation. The Papio 125 fails at all three while looking like a cafe racer costume. This CF Moto produces 9 horsepower from a 126 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine with 6 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 251 pounds, and it starts at around $3,000. The proportions immediately feel wrong. Even shorter riders find the seating cramped and awkward. The handlebars sit at odd angles. The foot peg's position creates knee discomfort, and the overall ergonomics feel like they were designed using incorrect human measurements. Performance is underwhelming, even for a 125 cubic centimeter engine. Acceleration is lethargic. Top speed barely reaches 55 miles per hour, and the handling feels top-heavy and unstable despite the light weight. The bike promises cafe racer agility, but delivers clumsy maneuvering. Build quality compounds the problems. Plastics feel cheap and brittle. Switches and controls have noticeable play and poor tactile feedback. Paint quality is inconsistent, and overall fit and finish fall below standards set by Japanese competitors that cost only slightly more. In a crowded entry-level market where Honda, Kawasaki, and Yamaha offer proven small displacement motorcycles with decades of refinement, the Papio 125 brings nothing compelling. It's not cheaper enough to justify the quality compromises, not better enough to warrant consideration over established alternatives. Think that's the strangest looking bike on this list? Buckle up, because this next Honda looks like it escaped from a science fiction movie. At number 6, Honda NM4 Voltus. Some motorcycles take risks that lead to innovation. Others take risks that lead to clearance sales. The NM4 Voltus firmly occupies the second category. The Voltus makes 62 horsepower from a 670 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine with 44 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 561 pounds, and it originally sold for around $11,000. The bodywork looks like it belongs in an anime convention, not on real roads. Massive plastic panels shroud the entire bike, creating a distinctive appearance that polarizes viewers instantly. But underneath the wild styling sits a frame borrowed from the CTX 700, another lukewarm Honda experiment that never found an audience. The seating position forces riders low and stretched out with legs extended forward like a cruiser, but without any cruiser comfort. Handlebars sweep back awkwardly, creating ergonomics that feel neither sporty nor relaxed. After 30 minutes, wrists, shoulders, and lower back all protest the unnatural positioning. Performance is adequate for commuting, but uninspiring for everything else. The bike isn't fast, isn't agile, and isn't particularly comfortable. The weight makes it cumbersome at parking lot speeds, while the mediocre power prevents any excitement on open roads. Customization options are extremely limited due to the integrated bodywork. Riders who enjoy personalizing their motorcycles find almost nothing available for the Voltus. The few aftermarket parts that exist command premium prices due to low demand. Honda tried creating a motorcycle for younger riders attracted to futuristic aesthetics. They forgot to make it ride well, handle properly, or cost reasonably. Today, used Voltus models sell for half their original price or less, often sitting unsold for months because nobody wants them. But even this oddity seems logical compared to the next bike, a Ducati that tried doing everything and succeeded at nothing. At number 5, Ducati Multistrada 5, 4 Pikes Peak. On paper, the Multistrada V 4 Pikes Peak reads like a dream specification sheet. In reality, it's an overpriced, overcomplicated question mark on 2 wheels. This Ducati makes 170 horsepower from an 1158 cubic centimeter V4 engine with 92 pound-feet of torque. Dry weight is 479 pounds, and it starts at around $33,000. Let that price sink in. $33,000 for a motorcycle that can't decide if it's an adventure bike, sport machine, or touring platform. The result is a bike that does many things adequately, but nothing exceptionally well. The 20-inch front wheel creates odd handling characteristics that feel neither like a traditional sport bike nor a capable adventure machine. The electronic suspension constantly adjusts, but rarely feels perfect, creating disconnection between rider and road. Endless ride modes and settings require navigating complex menus that distract from actually riding. Maintenance costs compound the ownership pain. Ducati service intervals come quickly, parts prices shock buyers, and dealer availability remains limited in many markets. Desmodromic valve service alone costs thousands of dollars and must be performed every 15,000 miles. The bike weighs significantly despite claimed lightweight construction. Combined with tall seat height and top-heavy weight distribution, it feels unwieldy at low speeds. Parking lot maneuvering and slow-speed technical riding both become more difficult than they should be. For $33,000, riders expect precision and connection. The Multistrada 5 4 Pikes Peak delivers distance between rider and road, between expectations and reality, and between purchase price and actual value. Most buyers spending this much choose bikes that do one thing brilliantly rather than many things adequately. If Ducati can miss this badly at premium prices, imagine what happens when Harley forgets who their customers actually are. At number 4, Harley-Davidson Sportster S. The Sportster once represented Harley's accessible gateway. Simple, rugged, affordable. The Sportster S represents everything wrong with modern Harley's direction. The Sportster S produces 121 horsepower from a 1252 cubic centimeter Revolution Max 5 twin engine with 94 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 502 pounds, and it starts at around $17,000. That engine impresses on specification sheets but disappoints in execution. Harley fans didn't ask for a sport bike cruiser hybrid. They wanted an evolved Sportster that retained the character that made the line iconic for decades. Instead, they got a machine that feels confused about its identity. The ride quality is punishingly stiff, transmitting every road imperfection directly to the rider. The seat provides virtually no padding, becoming painful within 30 minutes. Forward controls combined with upright bars create awkward ergonomics that suit neither aggressive sport riding nor comfortable cruising. The high-mounted exhaust burns calves during summer riding, a design flaw that should never have reached production. The single-gauge display looks stripped down rather than refined, lacking information riders need while providing nothing that makes up for the Spartan approach. Customization options, traditionally a huge part of Sportster appeal, remain limited and expensive. Aftermarket manufacturers struggled to develop parts for this platform because sales volumes never justified the investment. Riders expecting to personalize their Sportster S face limited choices at premium prices. Dealerships can't move these bikes. They sit on showroom floors for months, while previous generation Sportsters sell quickly in the used market. Think Harley's the only premium brand missing the mark? This next manufacturer spent $60,000 forgetting how motorcycles should work. At number 3, Bimota TC-H2. The TC-H2 isn't a motorcycle you buy because it makes sense. It's a $60,000 science experiment that proves exotic engineering doesn't automatically create superior riding. This Bimota produces 228 horsepower from a 998 cubic centimeter supercharged inline-4 engine borrowed from Kawasaki. Torque is 98 pound-feet, dry weight is 478 pounds, and the starting price is around $60,000. That might sound thrilling until you attempt riding it. The front swing arm suspension feels alien, providing feedback that confuses rather than informs. Traditional forks telegraph information riders understand instinctively. The TESI system transmits sensations that take significant adaptation to interpret, creating constant uncertainty about front-wheel traction and behavior. The throttle is aggressive, to the point of being dangerous on public roads. The supercharged engine delivers power in explosive bursts that overwhelm tires and suspension faster than riders can react. What should be thrilling becomes terrifying because the power delivery doesn't match chassis capability. Ergonomics force riders into extreme positions between racing tuck and medieval torture. The reach to bars strains shoulders, the foot peg position cramps legs, and the overall positioning creates fatigue within 30 minutes. This isn't a motorcycle for actual riding, it's a static display piece. Maintenance complexity and costs reach absurd levels. The hub center steering requires specialized knowledge that most technicians don't possess. Parts availability is extremely limited, and Bimota dealer support barely exists in most markets. Simple service becomes expensive adventures involving shipping parts internationally. The TESI-H2 represents engineering for engineering's sake, ignoring whether the result actually improves the riding experience. It's a $60,000 answer to questions nobody asked, solving problems that don't exist while creating new ones. But at least Bimota tries building real motorcycles, even if they fail. This next adventure bike barely qualifies as a motorcycle at all. At number 2, Suzuki V-Strom 650 XT. The V-Strom 650 used to represent solid value in the adventure touring segment. The XT version represents Suzuki's inability to keep aging platforms competitive through minor cosmetic updates. The V-Strom 650 XT makes 70 horsepower from a 645 cubic centimeter V-twin engine with 44 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 476 pounds, and it starts at around $9,400. Here's the problem. This platform is ancient. The fundamental design dates back nearly 2 decades with only minimal updates. Competitors evolved dramatically during that time, adding sophisticated electronics, improving ergonomics, and modernizing styling. The V-Strom stood still. The electronics package feels like it came from 2010 because it essentially did. Basic ABS is present, but advanced rider aids standard on competitors are completely absent. No traction control, no riding modes, no cornering ABS, no IMU-based safety systems, just old-school ABS and hope. The styling is universally considered unattractive, with a front-end design only Suzuki engineers could defend. The XT version adds spoke wheels, crash bars, and handguards, but can't fix the fundamental visual problems or outdated underpinnings. Performance is adequate, but uninspiring. The engine provides sufficient power for highway riding, but lacks the character and refinement found in competitors. The suspension works, but feels unsophisticated compared to modern standards. At $9,400, the V-Strom 650 XT costs nearly as much as far superior alternatives like the Yamaha Tenere 700, Kawasaki Versys 650, or Honda NC 750X. All offer more modern platforms, better electronics, and improved overall execution at similar or lower prices. And now we reach the motorcycle that represents everything wrong with modern premium manufacturers. At number 1, BMW R18 Transcontinental. Some motorcycles command premium prices through innovation, performance, or engineering excellence. The R18 Transcontinental charges premium prices for reasons that become less clear the more you examine it. This BMW makes 91 horsepower from an 1802 cubic centimeter boxer twin engine with 116 pound-feet of torque. Wet weight is 861 pounds, and the starting price is around $32,000. Let's start with that weight, 861 pounds. That's heavier than most full-dress touring bikes, while offering less weather protection, fewer amenities, and more awkward handling. The boxer engine layout creates wide mass that makes the bike feel even heavier than the numbers suggest during low-speed maneuvering. The retro styling deliberately evokes 1930s aesthetics, but BMW forgot that 1930s engineering doesn't belong on modern roads. The riding position is awkward, the controls are poorly positioned, and the ergonomics create discomfort during extended riding. For a bike supposedly designed for transcontinental touring, it actively punishes riders attempting long distances. Technology integration feels like an afterthought rather than integrated design. The massive boxer engine dominates the aesthetic, but modern electronics are tacked on rather than thoughtfully incorporated. Navigation systems, audio controls, and rider aids all feel bolted onto a fundamentally old-school platform. The fuel economy is abysmal for a bike that should encourage long-distance touring. The massive engine returns fuel consumption numbers that make riders constantly calculate remaining range rather than enjoying rides. Combined with a relatively small fuel tank for its weight class, the R18 Transcontinental requires frequent fuel stops. At $32,000, this BMW competes with Indian's entire touring lineup, Harley's best tourers, and even entry-level luxury cars. All provide better value, superior capability, and more refined execution. The R18 Transcontinental exists as an overpriced style statement that sacrifices functionality for aesthetics that most riders find questionable at best. These 18 motorcycles prove that brand names, premium prices, and aggressive marketing can't hide fundamental flaws from informed buyers. Smart riders recognize when manufacturers prioritize profits over products and avoid expensive mistakes that depreciate faster than they can be ridden home. Want to know what bikes actually deserve your money? Check out our next video exposing the motorcycles manufacturers don't want you discovering because they actually deliver value.